Yeah, I say monthly and then it just doesn't happen monthly. Hi everyone, my name is Britt. I am an author, actor, director, dog mom, cat mom, lizard mom, all around geek. And if you haven't subscribed yet to follow my creative journey, you probably should. So let's talk about the last couple of months. It's now officially been 3 months since I uploaded my How I Became an Author video where I was like, I'm gonna do these monthly. My computer died. So here we are in September to talk about the last couple of months of writing. So hopefully now it'll be actually every month. So I have my handy dandy word count. I do actually like monitor my word count and I'm not up to date. I haven't done it since the 3rd, but I will get that updated. But we're not talking about September today, so I don't need to worry about that right this second. So let's talk about July and August specifically. In July, I edited Price Check on Love, which is the book that's coming out in November. Still on track for that. My editor will likely have it done this week, so that's exciting. We'll talk more about that next month when we talk about September, hopefully. But yeah, so I finished the 4th draft of Price Check on Love. So if you guys don't know, the way that I do my drafts is I write the first draft and then I let that sit and then I personally go in and edit the 2nd draft. After that, then my alpha reader reads my 2nd draft, gives her point of view, and then I make edits based on that. Then for the 4th draft, it goes to beta readers. So my 3rd draft goes to my beta readers, they give me pointers and I make changes. Then it finally goes to my professional editor. So my books go through quite a bit of drafts before they actually are done, which is why it sometimes takes a bit to get that done. I actually finished Price Check on Love almost a year ago. Finished it at the end of October last year because I wanted to get ready for the November writing challenge, which is wild to think about now because this year alone, there have been 3 months out of the year that I have gone over 50,000 words. And my lowest monthly word count was 22,000, almost 23,000. So November Writing Challenge who? We don't know her anymore, which means I'm probably not going to actually compete this year. Maybe I will. I don't know where I'm gonna be. I'm not really focused on finishing a draft before the end of October to get ready for that. So I'm not really sure where I'm gonna be, but because I do keep track of my daily word count, I will at least be able to indicate whether or not I write 50,000 words over the course of November, I guess. Like I went 55,000, almost 56,000 in February, which is 28 days. At least it was this year. It wasn't a leap year this year. So in July, because I edited, I generally have less word written because I'm mostly editing. So the way that I figure out my word count when I'm editing is I take the final word count of the project and I subtract that from the starting like final word count from the original draft, and then I just divide that among the days. So far I've yet to come across a project where I haven't added words. So I averaged 216 words a day during that drafting. However, there were 2 days that I added a ton of words. So I actually took those days out and I just added in the actual word count. So on the 5th of July, fun fact, that's also my dad's birthday, I wrote 4,257 total words. And then on the 12th, yes, can I help you? And then on the 12th, I wrote 2,614 words because there was a whole storyline that one of my beta readers found a little problematic, understood, wanted to just get rid of it instead of adding a trigger warning. So I redid that entire section. Plus I added backstory for one of my main characters in that section as well. And then I actually added like a few chapters towards the beginning of the book. So just to kind of give a little bit more structure at the beginning. So, which all came from my beta reader feedback, which was absolutely fantastic. So I spent how many days? 11 days drafting that, going through that draft. I do want to do a full video. Let me know if you're curious about it, but I do want to do a full video about how I draft or how I edit because I am dyslexic and so reading is difficult for me. So I do have ways that I go about doing that, which makes the process a little bit faster for me, which is nice. So it took 11 days to go through that edit, which was absolutely fantastic. And so I don't know what that's gonna look like when I get it back from my editor, which means that I'm going to put a hard stop on the book that I'm currently writing and go into editing mode for Price Check on Love, which is great but I did start a new draft this month, so we're gonna talk about that next month when we talk about September. So then after that, I started the Unwritten Rules of Having Fans, which is the 4th installment of my interconnected romance series that I'm writing. I talked a little bit about that in a short. If you're at all curious, I will put a link to that right here. But basically it started with a book that I wanted to write towards the beginning of the year, which then I ended up liking the main character's best friend, which then turned into me liking some other side characters and going, well, I guess I'm writing an interconnected book series, and it turned into 7 books. Fun. But because it's so interconnected and they kind of all overlap with each other just a little bit, like books 1 and 2 overlap. Books 2 and 3 do overlap to a weird degree. Basically, book 3 is what happens during a like time jump. So we do a time jump in the second book. Everything that happens in that time jump happens in the 3rd book, and then the 4th and the 5th book overlap with each other. So like I said, very interconnected. So my goal was always to write all of the first drafts first, which is what I'm focused on right now. So I have not touched the first book since like February. So, because I finished the first draft of that in February. So I haven't even touched that yet. So hopefully I can start working on editing those soon. Technically, I just have to finish the 5th book and probably the prologue, which is going to be the 6th book in the series, but it's actually a prologue, before I can edit the rest of it, because then I have a whole epilogue book as the last book. But anyway, I digress. I started the 4th book in that series, the Unwritten Rules of Having Fans. So all of them start with the words, the unwritten rules of, and then each one kind of tells you a little bit about one of the tropes, essentially. Because my books aren't just one trope. My books are a few different tropes, usually. So I wrote that. That actually took a long time to write. That took basically, when I finished the last edit of Price Check on Love, I started the Unwritten Rules of Having Fans, and I didn't finish that until early this month. So that was my entire August, was writing that book. It was a little harder to write because it's a trope I'm not a big fan of, and I'm writing it because I wanted to change the things that I don't like about it, that trope. So that's why I'm writing it. So because I don't like that trope, it's really kind of hard for me. I mean, I think it still turned out really great because, like I said, it changed the things I didn't like about it, but it had a lot of like research I had to do because I don't like the trope, so I don't read that trope very often. I think I've read like 1 in the last few years, so there was a lot of research that needed to be done. Plus, I've never experienced what this character experienced, so I had to do some research there, whether that be on Google or talking to friends that have had that experience, that kind of thing. So it was hard. It was a hard draft to get through. This one has also been kind of interesting so far, but that's because I'm in the setup, and for some reason setups aren't as fun to write for me anymore. I used to love writing the beginnings and endings of stories, but now I really like the meat in the middle. I like that meat in the center. That's where I'm at. So I feel like I did really well. So over the course of July, I wrote a total of 31,520 words. And then in August, I tried so hard to get to 50,000 words, and I got so close. I was 4,000 words away, but I wrote 46,089 words over the course of August. And so as you can see, obviously a month where I edit, there's a lot less words than months where I don't edit, where I'm just writing. But I did take a few days off in August. I took the 2nd, the 8th, and the 15th off from writing, which usually when I'm taking time off from writing, it's either because I'm burned out and I just need that time to recalibrate, or it's because I am working on something else creative. My lowest word count, aside from when I was editing over those 2 months, 273. So 273 was my lowest word count. That was July 25th. That was my lowest word count, aside from when I'm editing. That was my lowest word count. But even when I was editing, my lowest word count actually happened when I was editing the 3rd draft in May, because I only averaged 120 words, where in July, even taking out the 4,257 and the 2,614, which obviously would have made that average a bit higher, I was still averaging 216 words a day during that editing process. So months where I'm editing, consistently less words written. The last 2 months have been going really well. I finished, well, like I said, I didn't really finish the first draft until this month, but we'll talk more about that next month when we do this video again. So far this year, I have written a total, and this is including the 3 days that I have already listed for September. It's actually September 9th, so like I said, I'm behind on putting the information in there, but I've written a total of 363,583 words so far this year. It's so fun to like actually be monitoring how much I'm writing over the course of the year instead of just writing words and then just calling it a day. So that is where I am at with my writing journey this month, or the last 2 months. So if you're an author, let me know how your writing is going, or editing, or wherever you are in the process. And if you're a reader, is it fun to see this side, you know, for authors to share this kind of information? I would love to know that in the comments. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you all next month. I am putting out some videos, 2 of which I actually filmed back in January. So if things look a little different with me, or like my hair, because I was still straightening my hair back then, just know those are filmed back in January. I finally found the footage and edited it, so I hope you guys enjoy those 2 weird kitchens. Aside from that, I will see you all next month with a new video. Bye.